Hello, fellow educators. My name is Monique Copeland, and this is my Data Action Plan final presentation based on Venables, how teachers can turn data into action. Here's a picture of me. I'm currently an early childhood professional learning specialist for District of Columbia Public School System. I was previously a pre-K teacher for 6 years, and I started my career off as a 6th grade English teacher. This summer, I was fortunate enough to work with Team 3 to practice Venables' systematic approach to data into action. My team included myself, Victoria, a 3rd grade Prince George County teacher, and Leah, a music teacher. Communication was key to my team's success. We used Leo. We established roles in the beginning of the school year and documented it on a tracking sheet to help keep us all accountable. One of the roles that I really liked was the consolidator because it actually was a great way for us to have something to reference exactly what happened in each meeting. Google Docs was important. We use live Google Hangouts for our live meetings. And we text message each other if something came up that was an emergency that could prohibit us from meeting in our regular scheduled time. Conducting data meetings was an essential part of the process. The data action model is a systematic process for reviewing and responding to data. It requires educators to work independently and collaboratively to gain insight for teaching and instruction. It's 5 steps: reviewing existing data, which Venables recommends a noticing and wonder protocol for that, triangulating data, determine gaps and goals that could be instructional or learning gaps, planning for action, and evaluating success for next steps. Now, I really want to point out for data meeting number 2, triangulating data, that you can use formative and summative assessments. Since Victoria is the only one in the classroom this past semester, we decided to use her 3rd grade classroom data, which was the summative assessment, the slow reading test, which students took back in August. After using the noticing and wondering protocol, by looking at the slow data, my team decided to use this exploratory question. What are the misconceptions of the 35 students, 79.55%, not understanding the main idea of informational text? Some of the artifacts we explored were the items on the slow test that actually tested main idea of informational text. And those are 3 items you can see here. Put them in graphs to actually help us see what choices the students made. Not that just that it was incorrect, but also which one, so that we can kind of get some insight of what they're thinking. So we also need to see what the test question actually said, so that we could have some background knowledge on what choice D means and so forth. Venables has an artifact tracking sheet to help document this. And here it is here. I want to point out that one of the things prior to me taking this class, it was very challenging, or it seems overwhelming, to decide what skills to prioritize, because everything seemed important. So for main ideas, because it's a progressive skill, we know that there are a lot of other fundamental skills that need to be acquired to actually be proficient at choosing a main idea for informational text. And this sheet actually helps us determine where to start. And as our team, based on the students' data, we decided to start with how to determine importance. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. From there, we chose a learning goal. And this happens in data meeting number 3. By the summative assessment, slow reading test in January, 80% of students will score on or above proficiency for the main idea of informational text. Now we're moving on to data meeting number 4, where you actually have to do some research prior to the meeting to find out what lessons can be created, whole group exit assessments, small group lessons, and some supporting technology applications. Here are some of the ones we found, all being free applications. We found EduCreation and Padlet. Padlet is a online bulletin board, which is really helpful. Google Slides and Google Classroom. And Blue Ribbon had countless of exit assessments for main idea. My favorite being the hamburger game. And all of these can be seen in action or previewed on my YouTube page, which is listed at the top. You could view a whole group lesson using Google Slides and Google Classroom on Victoria's YouTube page, and the same for Leah. Data meeting number 5, excuse me. Data meeting number 5, if this was during the school year, you would evaluate the process or the strategies that you use based on the criteria such as, was your SMART goal met? Do the learning goals persist? Are students performing significantly better? And if they are, you would then move on to what's the next steps. And that could be determined by looking at your data action plan. But since it was the summer, I actually was partnered with another team member from another team, Veronica from Team 1, which her team actually looked at second grade math word problems. So we were actually used the rubric so that we could be on the same page on what we're evaluating. We looked at the exploratory question for clarity. And one of my favorites is we exchanged some tools and technologies that could be used for a main idea and for her second grade students. Makey was one of my favorites. You can go to makeymakey.com to actually view lessons using the Makey technology kit. Key takeaways. Data doesn't have to be so overwhelming, especially if you use Venable's systematic approach to the whole process. Communication is key. It's important to build a trusting environment where everyone feels comfortable to announce what they notice and to share what's working and what's not, so you guys can work together to ultimately help students achieve learning. Here's a list of Venable's protocols and guides and tools that comes with the book. My personal reflections. My strengths were being a consolidator. I really like that. I would like to use those roles in my data team meetings with my teachers that I train. Data meeting number 4 was very rewarding for me because then the process really started to come together, especially since we got to start actually implementing some strategies and seeing what worked and what wasn't working. An area of growth for me would be triangulating data because it's so easy to forget to use multiple data sets to accurately determine what students need. Again, this whole process is based on Venable's book, How Teachers Can Turn Data into Action. Please feel free to go on Amazon to download a copy, digital copy, or you can order a book, all under $20. I'm looking forward to using this process. Thank you for your time. And again, happy planning this fall. Perfect. Yes. Woohoo.